Hey there, alligator. Are you here to gnaw on information and attack misconceptions? Then you've come to the right place. So I'm Allie Marie, and this is My Catholic Perspective. To join the alligators, all you have to do is subscribe and then share the video that compelled you to subscribe to Facebook or Twitter using the hashtag alligators. Today's Musical Monday, so I have 5 extra special songs picked out. Monica Reyna was the winner of last week's Musical Monday video and chose the genre of country music for today's video. So if you know country music, stay tuned and guess what songs I made parodies of, and you could choose the genre of next week's video. Today's topic comes from a request from Kevin Bowman about the Pope's role on earth. But before we dive too deep into what his role is, I wanted to touch on who the Pope is. So point number 1, Jesus is the ultimate head of the church. He is our high priest. However, before he returns with his second coming, he left his church with Peter. In the Old Testament, Jewish tradition had a high priest. It was the only person who was allowed to enter the Holy of Holies, which contained the Ark. There was only one Ark. There was only one high priest. Just like there is only one Pope. Vicar essentially means vice or deputy. He's standing in as the person of Christ himself while Christ is away for now. And he will be the vicar of Christ while Christ is seated at the Father's right hand. Yes, he is. Whenever Christ's second coming actually does come to fruition, the Pope's role will no longer be necessary because Christ himself will have redeemed and renewed the entire world. So number 2, the Pope's main role on earth is to keep unity within the Catholic Church. In paragraph 23 of Lumen Gentium, it states that the Pope is the perpetual and visible source and foundation of the unity both of the bishops and of the whole company of the faithful. I want to say that's in paragraph 837 of the Catechism, but it might just be in that vicinity. So while 1 Peter 5 verse 4 states that Jesus is the chief shepherd, he still told Peter, "Feed my sheep." Hint, hint, we are now the sheep, and the Pope is the temporary shepherd while Christ is away. The Pope is actually only the Bishop of Rome, but since the entire church is unified with Rome, it makes him the Pope. The popes don't go AWOL. This ain't a random free-for-all. He helps keep the church stable and unified with itself. Number 3, with Peter being the first Pope, with Christ giving him the keys, Christ telling him to feed his sheep, we see an imperfect human being able to uphold the teachings of Christ. I saw this meme the other day. I thought it was hilarious. The real miracle being, how did Christ have 12 friends? So when Christ left, Peter became the direct spokesperson for Christ. He knew him intimately, he shared the words exactly that Christ had spoken, and we all know how easier it is to listen than to read. With Peter's succession, it proves how unifying that role truly is. That he can preach love and life, but do it in a way that didn't turn all these people away. Look at how the early church grew and how badly people were just longing to hear the message that the early church was sharing. The Pope's role is essentially to be more like Peter, who was trying to be like Christ, but was still human and full of imperfections, as we see in the Bible, of which Christ redeemed. P to the E to the T to the E R Peter. P to the E to the T to the E R Peter. He was Christ's go-to guy. Discount him, I'd like to see you try. Oh, P to the E to the T to the E R Peter. This is my favorite. 4, since vicar means vice, I like thinking of the Pope as the vice president. In fact, if legislature or doctrine needs to change, the Pope's endorsement has to be behind it. They need his signature. When the Pope is voted into his seat, it's more than just a majority rules vote. It actually has to be unanimous. Being that it's a silent vote, it was amazing how quickly Pope Francis got voted in. I've been Catholic for 5 years, so he was literally ordained the month that I was confirmed Catholic. I was almost confirmed Catholic without a Pope. Pope, but because the unanimous vote was cast so soon, it almost edifies how strongly God wanted Pope Francis in that seat right now. Because of the necessity of the endorsement of the Pope onto any change in doctrine, the necessity of his strong relationship in the Holy Spirit with Christ, with the Father, it's essential. Because of all of that, we want him to endorse the truth, challenge change, overcome the culture, don't give in, be unified with the Church of Jesus Christ. Don't let the power consume you and remain true. Fifth and finally, the Pope has a seat that he can speak from in which he would be infallible. This does not mean impeccable, which means he cannot sin. The Pope can sin, but there are certain instances where if he speaks on a particular piece of doctrine, that it is considered impossible to be untrue, with a capital T. St. Ambrose stated in the 4th century, "Where Peter is, there is the church." Through ordination, the Holy Spirit has remained in the hands of those who are doing the ordaining. Matthew 9 verse 36 states that there will be people who are like sheep with no shepherd. Nowadays, that would be considered the Protestant religions. I hate having to lump Orthodox churches into this Protestant word, but outside of the unification with the Catholic Church, with the Church of Rome, you are still protesting the Catholic Church. Since the submittal of your doctrine is not in line with what the Bishop of Rome or the Pope would teach, unfortunately, the shepherd that Christ himself left for us is not the one making the decisions of what's being taught in your church. It's the Pope's duty to be that example for us, the example of love and generosity, chastity and beauty, purity and humility. The fruits of the Spirit should be able to be seen through the Pope. Obviously, in the past, we have had popes that were not in line with doctrine, but not once did they change doctrine to suit their needs. When the Crusades were ordered, that Pope did not say, I want to be able to murder anyone that's not Catholic. Where's the doctrine? I'm going to change that. It stayed exactly as is, stating that no matter what the circumstance, except for self-defense, murder is never permissible. And it's been that way for over 2,000 years. Just another reason why I choose to be Catholic. Even with the corrupted popes, though, the good ones kept coming. They were ordained again, ordained again, ordained again. Ordained again, ordained again, ordained again. Ultimately, it's a process and person we can trust. Kevin, thanks for the topic. And Monica, thanks for playing the game. Who will be next? Until next time, we'll see you later, alligator.